Good morning, children. Yeah, let us begin today's class from page 104. Yesterday we done up to rural banking till page 103. Today we begin from page 104, agricultural market system. Have you ever asked yourself how food grains, vegetables, and fruits that we consume daily come from different parts of the country? The mechanism through which these goods reach different places depends on the market channels. Agricultural marketing is a process that involves the assembling, storage, processing, transporting or transportation, packaging, grading, and distribution of different agricultural commodities across the country. Prior to independence, farmers, while selling their produce to the traders, suffered from faulty weighing and manipulation of accounts. Farmers who did not have the required information on prices prevailing in the market were often forced to sell at low prices. They also did not have proper storage facilities to keep back their produce for selling later at a better price. Do you know that even today, more than 10% of the goods produced in farms are wasted due to the lack of storage? Therefore, state intervention becomes necessary to regulate the activities of the private traders. Now let us discuss four such measures that were initiated to improve the marketing aspect. The first step was regulation of markets to create orderly and transparent marketing conditions. By and large, this policy benefited farmers as well as the consumers. However, there is still a need to develop about 27,000 rural periodic markets as regulated marketplaces to realize the full potential of rural markets. Second component is provision of physical infrastructure facilities like roads, railways, warehouses, godowns, cold storages, and processing units. The current infrastructure facilities are quite inadequate. Inadequate means not sufficient to meet the growing demand and the need to be improved. Cooperative marketing in realizing fair prices for farmers' products is the third aspect of government initiative. The success of the milk cooperatives in transforming the social and the economic landscape of Gujarat and some other parts of the country is a testimony to the role of cooperatives. However, cooperatives have received a setback during the recent past due to inadequate coverage of farmer members, lack of appropriate link between the marketing and the processing cooperatives, and inefficient financial management. The fourth element is the policy instruments like assurance of minimum support prices for agricultural products. What is this minimum price system or support price? By this, farmers are assured that if they sell it to these government agencies or the cooperatives, they will be assured of a minimum price कि इतना तो मिल ही जाएगा for your product. Either it is per kg or per quintal, that price is there. But if they have to go to the market, probably they would not get even the minimum price. So the first policy is to assure them, you come to us, you will get a minimum support price. Second, maintenance of buffer stocks. What are buffer stocks? Stocks which are kept for future use, for future times, of wheat and rice. They are kept by the Food Corporation of India. And the third, distribution of food grains and sugar through PDS. What is PDS? Public Distribution System. Ration shops, fair price shops, these are all PDS. These instruments are aimed at protecting the income of the farmers and providing food grains at a subsidized rate to the poor. What do you mean by subsidized? A lesser rate from the market rate is subsidized rate. However, despite the government intervention, private trade by money lenders, rural political elites, big merchants, and rich farmers predominates agricultural markets. What is this statement telling us? That the government is doing all this, but still our agricultural markets are dominated by whom? By money lenders, rural political elites, bigwigs of the city, big merchants, rich farmers. These are the people who are calling the shots in the market, agricultural market. Means they are still having a hold on these markets. The need for the government intervention is imminent, particularly when a large share of agricultural product is handled by the private sector. So there is a need for the government to intervene, come in between these people so that the poor farmers get their due, they get what is to come to them. Agricultural marketing has come a long way with the intervention of the government in various forms. Some scholars argue that commercialization of agriculture offers tremendous scope for farmers to earn higher incomes provided the government intervention is restricted. What do you think? Some say that the government should not interfere because if you leave it, the government, if you interferes, by itself, the farmers will be able to get more, let's say, income. Do you think this is true? Yes or no? No, it may be true, it may not be true. It may not be true because we already learned that there are money lenders, rural political elites, big merchants, big farmers who are calling the shots in the market. So they will say you want to sell your product at this price, we will buy it, otherwise no. And that product price may not be even the minimum price which the government tends to offer. So many a times it does not work. So the government intervention is very, very necessary because the government always protects the marginalized, the poor farmers. They have made so many schemes, they have made so many instruments which are aimed at protecting the income of the emerging alternate marketing channels. It has been realized that if farmers directly sell their produce to consumers, it increases their incomes. Some examples of these channels are Apni Mandi, which is in Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, Adaspar Mandi, which is in Pune, Raitu Bazaars, that is vegetable and fruit markets in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and Uzavar Sandis, which is farmers markets in Tamil Nadu. Further, several national and multinational fast food chains are increasingly entering into contracts, alliances with farmers to encourage them to cultivate the farm products or vegetables, fruits, etc. of the desired quality by providing them with not only seeds and other inputs, but also assured procurement, procurement of their products. Procurement means purchasing, buying their product at pre-decided prices. It is argued that such arrangements will help in reducing the price risk of the farmers and would also expand the market for farm products. Do you think such arrangements raise incomes of the small farmers? Yes, they do. Because many big multinational companies come directly and they contact these small farmers and tell them, see, this is the proper seeds. Suppose we want potatoes for making French fries. These are the type of potatoes we require. So you grow these type and we will purchase it from you when your crop is ready. So there are times where the income of these small farmers are they get help from these sort of multinational companies. Diversification into productive activities. Diversification includes two aspects. One relates to change in cropping pattern and the other relates to a shift of the workforce from agriculture to other allied means related activities like livestock, poultry, fisheries, etc. and the non-agriculture sector. The need for diversification arises from the fact that there is a greater risk in depending exclusively on farming for livelihood. Diversification towards new areas is necessary not only to reduce the risk from the agricultural sector, but also to provide productive, sustainable livelihood options to the rural people. Much of the agricultural employment activities are concentrated in the Kharif season. But during the Rabi season, in areas where there are inadequate irrigation facilities, it becomes difficult to find gainful employment. Therefore, expansion into other sectors is essential to provide supplementary gainful employment and in realizing higher levels of income for rural people to overcome poverty and other tribulations. Hence, there is a need to focus on allied activities, non-farm employment and other emerging alternatives of livelihood, though there are many other options available for providing sustainable livelihoods in the rural areas. As agriculture is already overcrowded, a major proportion of the increasing labor force needs to find an alternate employment opportunity in other non-farm sectors. So you see agriculture is as is overcrowded. People are wasted. Where in a field you would need 4 to 5 people, there 10 to 12 are working and still getting the same output. So what is it? It is a waste of human labor. These people could move out to the other non-farm sectors. Now the non-farm economy has several segments in it. Some possesses dynamic linkages that permit health growth, while others are in subsistence, low productivity propositions, and the dynamic subsectors include agro-processing industries, food processing industries, leather industry, tourism, etc. These are all the things they can shift from agriculture to these other allied employment sources. These sectors which have the potential but seriously they lack the infrastructure and other support include traditional home-based industries like pottery, crafts, handlooms, etc. Majority of the rural women find employment in agriculture, while the men generally look for non-farm employment, and in recent times, women have also begun looking for non-farm jobs. Animal husbandry. In India, the farming community uses the mixed crop livestock farming system. Cattle, like goats, fowl, are the widely held species. Livestock production provides increased stability in income, food security, transport, fuel, and nutrition for the family without disrupting other food producing activities. Today, livestock sector alone provides an alternate livelihood option to over 70 million small and marginal farmers, including the landless laborers. A significant number of women also find employment in the livestock sector. The chart of 6.1 shows the distribution of livestock in India. Poultry accounts for the largest share with 58%, followed by the others. Other animals, which include camels, asses, horses, ponies, and mules, are in the lowest rung. India had about 300 million cattle, including 108 million buffaloes. In 2012, performance of the Indian dairy sector over the last 3 decades has been quite impressive. Milk production in the country has increased by more than 8 times between 1951 to 2014. This can be attributed mainly to the successful implementation of Operation Flood. It is a system whereby all the farmers can pool their milk produced according to different grading, that is based on quality, and the same is processed and marketed to the urban centers through cooperatives. In this system, the farmers are assured of a fair price and income from the supply of milk to the urban markets. As pointed out earlier, Gujarat state is held as a success story in the efficient implementation of milk cooperatives, which has been emulated by many states. Emulated means copied, followed. Meat, eggs, wool, and other byproducts are also emerging as important productive sectors for diversification. Fisheries. The fishing community regards the water body as the mother or provider. The water bodies consisting of the seas, ocean, rivers, lakes, natural aquatic ponds, streams, etc. are therefore an integral and a life-giving source for the fishing community. In India, after progressive increase in the budgetary allocations and introduction of new technologies in fisheries and agriculture, the development of fisheries has come a long way. Presently, fish production from inland sources, they contribute about 64% to the total value of the fish production, and the balance 36% comes from the marine sector, seas and oceans. Today, the total fish production accounts for 0.8% of the total GDP. In India, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu are the major fish producing states. A large share of the fish worker families are poor. Rampant underemployment, low per capita earnings, absence of mobility of labor to other sectors, and a high rate of illiteracy and indebtedness are some of the major problems fishing communities face today. Even though women are not involved in active fishing, about 60% of the workforce in export marketing and 40% in the internal marketing are women. There is a need to increase credit facilities through cooperatives and self-help groups for fisherwomen to meet the working capital requirement for marketing. Horticulture. What is horticulture? Growing fruits, fruit trees. Blessed with a varying climate and soil condition, India has adopted growing of diverse horticultural crops such as fruits, vegetables, tuber crops, flowers, medicinal and aromatic plants, spices and plantation crops. All these come under horticulture. These crops play a vital role in providing food and nutrition, besides addressing the employment concerns. What do you mean besides addressing employment concerns? Many people find jobs in doing horticulture. We can provide jobs for these people for growing different types of food crops. Horticulture sectors contributes nearly 1/3 of the value of the agriculture output and 6% of the gross domestic product of India. India has emerged as a world leader in producing a variety of fruits like mangoes, bananas, coconuts, cashew nuts, and a number of spices, and is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. Economic conditions of many farmers engaged in horticulture have improved, and it has become a means of improving the livelihood for many unprivileged classes. So many people have found livelihood, that is earning income for their livelihood from horticulture. Flower harvesting, nursery maintenance, hybrid seed production and tissue culture, propagation of fruits and flowers, and food processing are highly remunerative employment options for women in the rural areas. Though in terms of numbers, our livestock population is quite impressive, but its productivity is quite low as compared to the other countries. It requires improved technology and promotion of good breeds of animals to enhance productivity. Improved veterinary care and credit facilities to small and marginal farmers and landless laborers would enhance sustainable livelihood options through livestock production. Production of fisheries has already increased substantially. However, problems related to overfishing and pollution need to be regulated and controlled. Welfare programs for the fishing community have to be reoriented in a manner which can provide long-term gains and sustenance of livelihood. Horticulture has emerged as a successful, sustainable livelihood option and needs to be encouraged significantly. Enhancing its role requires investment in infrastructure like providing electricity, cold storage systems, marketing linkages to road, rail, etc., small scale processing units, and technology improvement and dissemination. We will stop till here, children. Time is up. Tomorrow we'll complete the last option, that is other alternatives and organic farming, and the question and answers will be given to the chapter. Okay, so we will stop till here.